Good evening, everyone. Welcome back and welcome to this is the second budget hearing? Third.
Is the only budget.
Only budget. hearing. Sorry. Anyway,
Budget presentation.
welcome to budget hearing tonight. Mr. Van Wart will speak to us about the 25-26 school budget.
Yep.
Mr. Van Wart.
Thank you, Mr. McNally. Okay, over here, Claire. Thank you very much. So I always like to start with this slide. Our primary objective when we're building the school budget is to ensure that we are putting forward a budget that's educationally sound, transparent, and fiscally responsible. We always strive to maintain our existing programs and provide for enhancement as needs emerge. We always strive to put forth a budget that's going to provide for healthy and safe learning environment for all of our students and for our staff, and a budget that aligns with the district's strategic plan, namely the 4 pillars of opportunity, achievement, connection, and innovation. This is a slide that demonstrates the budget development cycle. So we actually start the budget development for the upcoming school year in November. So 6 months in advance of the upcoming school year. So if you take a step back and you think about it, we could be projecting out expenditures 18 months in advance. So it's not an exact science, but we do the best we can to anticipate funding needs in the upcoming school year. The process starts in November with budget materials being distributed out to our budget builders, our key department heads, our building leadership team, and it works through January and February with business office and my team work on projecting out salaries, benefits over the course of the coming school year. We do our budget work sessions throughout January, February, and March. I would encourage the community, if they're looking for more detailed information about what drives our school budget, to look at the presentations that we have on our website, as well as any of the live stream recordings of our videos of those presentations. That brings us to today, which is the formal budget hearing, which is statutorily required in New York State law. Between 7 and 14 days before the actual school budget vote. The school budget vote will be on May 20th, which is next Tuesday. I'll talk a little bit more about where our community members can go to vote. So some budget highlights for 25-26. So the proposed budget for next year is 46.97 million, which if you compare budget to budget between 24-25 and 25-26 is a $1.68 million increase, or 3.72%. We're proud to say that the proposed 25-26 budget maintains all current levels of instructional programs, our extracurricular activities, PD for our staff, as well as supports a number of enhancements. And I've listed a few of them on this slide here. I'll just talk about a few of them. The American Rescue Plan that was put in place by the federal government after the COVID pandemic allowed for funding for summer enrichment programs. The American Rescue Plan funding period ended in September of last year. We are looking to put forth a summer remediation program for elementary grade students, even though that federal money is not available, using the operating budget for this year, and that has been built into the budget. So our elementary students would have the opportunity to participate in this program over the course of the summertime. Mr. Murray, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, put out a save the date on Parent Square. More information will be forthcoming on that. The budget this year also includes additional support FTEs, including but not limited to occupational therapy and speech services to enhance our existing posture with our students and staff. We've included a number of investments for physical and cybersecurity in the budget this year to increase our security and safeguard our staff and students. We're continuing our refresh protocol for our Chromebooks for 2 grade levels this year, and we're also looking to upgrade some of our desktop computers for our office staff. The budget this year also includes a number of enhancements for clubs and interscholastic opportunities for our students. We've also built into it some enhancements for our college and career planning platform for secondary level students. This is the tax cap for 25-26. So the East Rockaway School District's tax cap number is 3.04%. That's the statutory amount we can go up to when increasing the tax levy, which requires just a majority vote from the community. Anything above 3.04% would require a supermajority of community members supporting it for it to pass. The 25-26 proposed tax levy increase is not 3.04%. It's 1.95%, which is about a percentage below the limit that is out there, which puts us in a compliance with the New York State tax cap. And at 1.95%, our tax levy is the 12th lowest in Nassau County and 27th lowest on Long Island out of 123 school districts. One of the statutory responsibilities we have when presenting the budget hearing is to present the budget in what they call three parts, breaking the expenditures into three different components: administrative, program, and capital. So for 25-26, 12.2% of the budget is in the capital component, 12.2% in admin, and the vast majority of the budget is in program, which is 75.5%. So the administrative component of the budget includes all the expenditures related to administration salaries and benefits, the Board of Ed, things like the clerical support staff for our district administration, business office operations, things like audit services, legal expenditures, insurance for the district. So for 25-26, the increase there is $213,000 year over year, which is a 3.8% increase. The main cost driver, as you would expect, is the support staff and the administration salaries and fringe benefit cost increases year over year. The program component of the three-part budget are all the things that go into the instructional support for our students. So our staff salaries, our related service salaries, psychological salaries, social worker salaries, our health services salaries, any materials, textbooks, workbooks, instructional programs that support instruction and learning in the classroom, and the expenditures to get the kids to school. So transportation services and our co-curricular and athletic services after school. Year over year, this component has a $1.3 million increase, which again is a 3.8% increase year over year. Main cost drivers in this category for 25-26 is the additional FTEs we have in our special education and PPS staff, additional costs for out-of-district placement for our special education students, and then instructional salary and fringe benefit cost increases. And last but not least is the capital component of our budget, which includes all of the costs associated with running a physical plant, security services, our custodial and maintenance staff, any building improvement costs, any maintenance costs, debt service, and our capital projects. In this particular category, $167,000 increase, which is about a 3% increase year over year. And the main cost driver again here, you're seeing a theme, is the salary and fringe benefit cost increases. For 25-26, we're proposing a number of capital improvement projects. So within the actual budget, we have put forth a $100,000 budget amount for transfer to capital, which is basically used for making building level improvements through the actual operating budget. This year, we were planning on doing building wide repainting at the high school and repairs in our sidewalks and parking lot. In addition to that, there will be a second proposition on the ballot for the use of capital reserves. So capital reserve is basically money that the district has left over, can be put into a restricted reserve. We have a capital reserve, which has some funding in it. In order for us to be able to expend the money from that, the voters have to approve it. So in 2024, the voters authorized the use of $313,000 for the restoration of the high school cupola. We went out to bid shortly after the voters voted in favor of that. The bids we received back were more than the authority that was originally given to us. We took that information back, discussed it with our architect and with our administration team, and decided we had two options really. Do we want to go back out for a bid with lower cost materials, limit the scope of the project, or do we want to seek additional authority from the voters to do the project what we feel is the right way with using the correct materials that's going to reduce maintenance costs in the future? We could have gone back out to bid and use wood materials instead of what was recommended by our architect, which was vinyl materials. The high school is very close to the Email River, which has salt water coming off of it. Over time, it would deteriorate the cupola again, which require year over year maintenance costs. We felt it was fiscally prudent to seek the additional authority from the voters, go out to bid and do the project the right way. So what we're asking for on the voter proposition is an additional authority to expend up to $250,000 in addition to the $313,000 that was already authorized by the voters. Now, if the bids come in lower, that's all we would expend. It's just a not to exceed resolution, which means we have the authority to spend up to that amount. This is what the ballot will look like when you vote. So you'll see there's two propositions. Proposition 1 is the 25-26 school budget, 46.9 million, as I just described. Proposition number 2, that's the language for the additional expense for $250,000 to be authorized by the voters. Now, I didn't mention it on my last slide, but that is not any additional cost to the taxpayer. This is from a reserve that the district already has established and has funding in. We just need the voters to authorize it to be able to take the money out of that reserve to put towards the project. Real quick, these are the revenue sources that support the school budget. So East Rockaway School District, 75% of our budget is funded through the property tax levy. 20% comes from state aid from New York State, which fluctuates year over year. And there's various components to state aid, which I could talk about a little bit. And then everything else that supports the budget is either generated locally through either interest or facilities usage fees that we charge, our driver's ed program where we collect fees from participants, or from our savings, either our appropriated fund balance, or as I was mentioning before with capital, there's other reserves that we have in place for certain types of expenditures like unemployment, post-retirement benefits, et cetera, that we can put towards the budget to offset the cost to the taxpayer in terms of the increase of the tax levy. This is the history of the property tax levy increases in East Rockaway. So you can see from 21-22 through 25, we've kept the property levy, tax levy under 2%, trying to be fiscally responsible because we understand the burden it places on our community members. And we're proud of that. 1.95% proposed increase for 25-26. You could see the average CPI increase over the past 10 years has been about 2.88. Even with that, the average property tax levy increases that we've put forth have been over a percentage lower than that, at 1.63%. What does that translate to in terms of your property taxes? So the average home assessed in East Rockaway has an assessed value of $437. In 24-25, that would translate to about $9,042 in property taxes. If the budget was to pass at the proposed levy increase amount, in 25-26, at that assessed value would translate to $176 a year increase, or $1,467 a month in your property taxes increase. I also put on the slide here the assessed value at different levels, just so you can get a sense depending upon what your assessed value is for your property and what it translates into. If you look at the Nassau County property search website, you can actually pull up exactly what your assessed value is and know exactly what the change would be based upon the data that we receive from Nassau County Assessor's Office. Now, this fluctuates. There could be a change in assessed value year over year, but it just gives you a sense of where you would end up. This is the projected revenue for supporting the budget for 25-26. As I was mentioning before, the 20% of our budget is state aid. State aid year over year, we're expecting it to increase by about $900,000. And we're also expecting some additional aid category for what is called non-resident homeless state aid. Basically, what that means is there's a federal law called McKinney-Vento for students placed in temporary housing, displaced either for financial, economic, or other hardship. If we have a student that lived in a district of origin outside of East Rockaway and they were displaced to this school district, and they're attending school here, the state steps in and gives the district back aid. We're projecting that we're going to get some aid in that category this year. Pilots should be relatively flat year over year. We're expecting about a $30,000 increase. What a pilot is it stands for payments in lieu of taxes. These are either businesses or utilities that have negotiated with Nassau County Industrial Development Agency for a tax schedule that is not necessarily aligned with the assessed value of the underlying property. It's a way that the Nassau County incentivizes small businesses to come in and build and bring business to the community. We have 3 pilots. We have LIPA and 2 housing complexes. That's what we're expecting that they're going to pay in terms of revenue to the district in lieu of paying property taxes to Nassau County. We're projecting an increase in interest revenue for 25-26 based on the current market rates. There's a small increase we're projecting in day school tuition for students that are attending East Rockaway but are not a resident of East Rockaway. Our life skills program actually is filled with a number of students that are actually not residents of East Rockaway. but just to fill the roster spaces in that class, that brings revenue back into the district to offset the cost of the other areas of the budget. And last but not least, we have our appropriated fund balance and reserve for retirement contributions. Those really aren't revenue sources. Those are savings we have in place right now that we put towards next year's budget to offset the cost of the tax levy for the taxpayer. So if you look at it from a non-tax revenue perspective, we're expecting a pretty big increase, 8.68%, predominantly because we have state aid that we're expecting to be a little bit higher than we were projecting last year. Tax levy revenue increasing by 1.95% for a grand total of 3.72. And as I mentioned, our other financial resources, our restricted reserves, these are savings that we have available to us to put towards a budget to offset costs. Here's what our fund balance looks like in those restricted reserves as of this year. Our unemployment insurance reserve has about 80,000 in it. Teacher retirement system reserve, which could be used to offset the cost of employer contributions to the TRS pension system, has about 1.4 million in it. The employee benefit accrued liability reserve, that reserve can be used to offset the cost of post-retirement benefits, has about $580,000 in it. And our ERS reserve, can be used to offset the cost of employer contributions to the ERS pension system, has about 5.7 million in it. So this is the reserve that we have that is pretty well funded, which is why we are putting that towards this year's budget. We're very comfortable putting it towards this year's budget because right now we have about 8 years worth of funding inside of it if ERS rates were to remain where they are currently. And that concludes the budget hearing presentation. This is the end of the budget calendar. Our next step in the process is the May 20th budget vote, which will be at the East Rockaway. Polls will be open at the East Rockaway High School from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. In the high school large gym, we would just encourage everybody in the community to come out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to add just a couple of things really quick. Also that night of the budget vote, we have our high school music department putting on a concert, and we also have an art show in the gymnasium. The second point I'd like to make is understanding proposition number 2, which is the cupola. As many of you know, it's a symbol for the school district and in most cases a symbol for the community. So we decided that to do it the right way. And I wanted to emphasize that it's at no cost to the taxpayer. So, voting for that will not be impacting your taxes. And the last thing I'd like to say is Mr. Van Wart has done an excellent job. For 45 cents a day, approximately, as he said, $14.67 a month for $176 a day. You're getting an excellent education program and a really responsible budget. So we thought about all those things, and I want to thank you for that. And please, if you have any questions, please come see us this Wednesday.
Yep. Is Wednesday?
No,
the 15th.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday will be, I'll be answering any questions about the school budget at the Center Avenue PTA meeting. I'll do a quick presentation. I promise 15 minutes. We'll keep it short in case anybody has any questions. And then we will be also going to the high school PTA meeting the following week right before the budget. So that's it for me.
Great. Questions, anyone?
No.
No, I
Thank
just
you
want to
very
say,
much.
great presentation, very well planned out. The visual was great, which I love. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, Mike.
We can just close it.
Good night, everyone.
Adjourn.
Yeah, we have to adjourn.
Like a motion.